Hello, this is Brad Wiseman. You're listening to Real Estate and You. We are back with Pete, or should I say repeat with Pete. Yes, we're back in the studio with Pete Heim. He's back to talk about his point of view in the market, and we're going to have a good time because there's all kinds of cool topics that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get right into it right away. So Pete, how you doing, buddy?
So, Brad.
Yeah.
I'm great.
You're doing great?
I am. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been good. The weather's kind of crappy today. It's raining and
we got 40s though. We'll take
yeah,
40s.
you know what? The snow's melting, which is a good thing.
There's a sign I have to go take out in Hamburg.
Good luck.
It's been there for about
Have you tried to put one in last week?
Yeah, Olivia
It's like
did.
concrete. Yeah. Oh, you had Olivia do it?
Yeah.
That's really
Well,
nice
sure.
of you.
Yeah.
Real kind of
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Unbelievable. Let the assistant do it or whatever.
Well, the owner
Oh,
came to her rescue. So it's all good.
Unbelievable. All right. So you have some topics today that we're going to talk about. I know the first thing you wanted to get into is rent.
Yeah.
We
did.
talked about this a couple times, but this is coming up more and more often, the whole rent thing. And
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It is.
Well, we talked about how the skyrocketing rents have become.
It's crazy.
And we found a graphic.
You found a graphic.
We stole.
Do we
it.
have the graphic? Yes,
It's-
we do.
It's Keeping Current Matters. Thank you to them. They are a great source of.
I'm a
information.
subscriber.
Yes,
So, you know,
are.
that's where we get this information.
And you know the same how good they are.
They are.
And they nail it every time. But look at that.
Year over
look
year
at that.
percentage of single family, just for the podcast. It says year over year percentage of single family rent growth in November each year.
Yes,
So we have attached and detached.
exactly. The detached home, a single home is the blue, and the attached is like a townhouse or something like that.
Amazing, right?
Look at that. And I know
Wow.
annually, the annual was 17.8 last year, but that just shows you a year over year number, 12%. And
Yeah.
that's
a lot.
It's kept up with home appreciation.
Yeah. But the difference is that the increase in rent, you could have an increase in homeownership, but that's an investment. The increase in rent there's zero investment there.
Well, ask a renter how much equity did they gain last year.
Well, ask how much they can write off in their taxes.
That too.
Yeah. I mean,
zero.
and we're not busting on renters.
Yeah,
I always say this too.
Right.
There's a time in your life where you need to rent.
Absolutely.
And there's
I think we've
nothing
all
wrong
done
with
it.
that. But
I
if
know.
you're renting because you choose to rent, not because you have to rent,
Right.
probably not a good idea.
You should look at it.
You should look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody needs to be mobile too. Like, I always say to people when if they move in from out of the area and they're they're not sure about where they want to live yet, and they just moved into Berks County. I say to them sometimes, if you're that torn about where to go, maybe rent is good for you for a year.
There's nothing
Settle
wrong.
in, feel where you want to be.
Yep.
Look at the school districts, look at the locations, look at the conveniences, and find out where you need to be.
And that takes a year.
Oh,
I mean, to
absolutely
really get comfortable.
And a year goes like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But that's cool.
good
Cool
advice.
graph. So the rent is still going up.
It is. But what's going up even better is the equity that we've gained last year.
Yeah.
U.S. housing market has doubled in value since the Great Recession, gaining $6.9 trillion last year, just last
Wow.
year. That's a
Wow.
record.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we're doubled since 2008.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? That's 13 years? Yeah. Right?
Mhm. Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
Who had a portfolio double in 13 years? I mean, it's pretty rare to have anything double in 13 years, really.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I would think that's pretty rare.
Really, that's
Yeah,
pretty rare, right?
absolutely.
So that we just want to make that point that actually it's up to 40 trillion total right now.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's hard not to gain wealth without owning a property. Really.
Have you found a number, and maybe you can bring this in next time because I'm just thinking of it now. What would be neat to kind of compare with that is what is the amount of homes that we are short right now? Like because we're constant. For instance, the house that I just had up on the Mountaintop Road, I think you actually were going to show it and you
Yes.
showed it, whatever. There was 42 showings on that house.
42. Okay.
10 offers that came in.
10,
Okay. And probably 3 that I kind of talked out of doing it because we had what we had
Right.
instead of wasting somebody's time.
Don't
Right.
bother. Yeah.
So there's 40 other people that didn't get a house.
Yeah.
So how many are, that means that we're negative 40 homes in that location.
Yeah.
We don't have enough homes.
Right.
So what is it around the country? Like, what do we need to do inventory wise to get back to normal?
I'm going to tell you,
How many houses?
It depends. But you were in a sweet spot there, Brad.
What's that?
Two-
Up
two-
there.
two
Oh,
and a-
yeah, yeah.
2 and a
Absolutely.
quarter.
Absolutely. It was definitely a sweet
What-
spot for price. Yes.
What can you get 2 and a quarter? in a
You can't
single
get
house?
anything. You can't.
So
You
you
can't.
you did the absolute amazing job for that owner.
Yeah. And
You
they're
did
very
exactly
happy.
what you need to do. I'll bet you
They're
are.
very happy. Yeah.
Brad
It didn't
Weissman's
go-
a great realtor, by the way.
It didn't go just full
But-
price.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because everybody tells. I mean, you hear it every time. So you walk into a house, you go, "So how high is this one going to go?"
Yep. Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We
It's
don't
It's
know.
going to be higher.
Depends on how much cash somebody has, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
And so yeah.
So
but that's a great question.
I would just love to, because there's got to be a stat somewhere that says, hey, you know what? Throughout the country, we're probably down this much, or even in the state of Pennsylvania. What is there, or in the county? What would it take to get us back to normal? How
Well,
many
I can-
homes in a year?
Well, I can tell you what it is, Brad. I think you and I are going to probably agree on this. A stable market is what? About 2,000
2,000.
choices in Berks County.
But that's at any given time. That's not a month.
no,
That's
it's-
at any given time.
That's at any
right?
given time. Is
Right.
a buyer seller balance. Is
Gotcha.
what they say.
Right.
I mean, 4,400. Don't forget, 2008.
Yeah.
13 years ago was 4,400.
Wow.
That's out of balance the other way.
It was out of balance, right? Yeah.
and
Definitely.
we're less than 10% now of that.
It's unbelievable.
So we're at 10% of a stable market. So what does that tell you? Well, we're what are we? We're 1,700 or so.
Yeah.
Short.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot.
And and we're talking all different kinds: condos, townhouses,
Yeah.
price points.
You're right. At all
Everything.
locations. It's funny. It's all locations and all prices.
It
It's
is.
not even just like, a certain geographic area. It's
No.
it's everywhere.
We've never seen this.
No, we haven't.
No.
And it's just, but it's okay. And I
It's
don't want to
okay.
discourage buyers, because here's the thing at the end of the day, which I love about this whole thing, is that I have not had a buyer not find a house.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna happen.
You might lose a couple, whatever, but those 40 that didn't get Mountaintop Road, they're going to get something.
Yeah. It's a matter of
Okay.
time.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. You just got to stick with it.
Yep.
The strong survive,
This
especially in this market, right? Holy mackerel.
can't be a gutless wimp. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but
this is true. This is true.
but the webinar I told
Yeah.
you about, I was on a webinar, and the number one realtor in the United States, he's in Seattle, Washington, and he's obviously great, and he knows, he watches it, and he was making fun of, he was hearing a conversation in a grocery store. It was a realtor talking to just a layperson, and they were just talking, and she asked the realtor what kind of market it is, and the realtor went,
Yeah.
like sellers market like that. And Andy says, no, it's not.
Does this lady need medication?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
It almost
She was
seems
like
that way,
freaking
right?
out how low it is, and
Yeah.
help. I want my mommy, all that stuff. And,
What my
and
mommy.
he was like, dude, it's a buyer's market.
Now that's such a twist.
Guys, listen.
But I
He's
get
right.
it. I get it.
He's right in a certain way,
In a certain way.
because it's going to keep going up. It's going to keep escalating. The rates are going to go up. It's a great time to buy.
Yes.
Brad, you and I, right before we went live,
Mhm.
a buyer that bought a house 2 years ago. How they doing, folks?
Doing great.
How are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. 11% last year. What was the year before
13.
that?
It was 13, Brad.
Yeah. So you just, how much you just
Before
made
that, it was
huge investment.
8 or 9 probably, or
Yeah.
something. So they gained 20-some% in 2 years.
Well, and you look at the graph, even back in 2007 and 8, or 6 or 7, whatever it was, when it dropped, it only actually dropped for 2 years.
Right.
And then it started climbing.
That's right.
So the reality is, the person that bought right before it dropped those 2 years, those are the only people that really, but it did drop pretty bad.
It dropped bad.
It dropped pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was. Did you ever go on that? There's a ride at Disney or whatever. It's the haunted castle or haunted house thing. I forget it is.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
the whole floor drops
Oh,
out
yeah.
from you. That's pretty much how
That's
it was.
what happened.
If you bought a house the year before that, it's called haunted something. My wife
Yeah.
loves the thing. I forget what it's called. But yeah, so that's the way it was.
Yeah.
It was like the bottom just dropped out.
That's when I said I wanted my mommy.
Exactly. I think everybody wanted their mommy at that point. Yes, exactly. So yeah, so it is still, we still feel like, don't make the mistake you made last year and not buy because you're worried about, I think a lot of buyers are like, I'm just going to wait until this calms down. Well, you could be waiting a long time.
I don't see an
And
end.
I don't see it happening.
Do you see an end?
Not for a while.
I don't.
I mean, I see that it's calming down to the 5-7%, maybe 8% in appreciation, but I don't see it going to level or dropping.
Well,
And
I think interest rates hit higher than what we thought they would by now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're up higher.
Yeah, Mike Bauer was on the last podcast last week, and we just talked about that. Remember how we all said 3.75 by the end of the year?
It's there.
It's there. It's already there.
It's there.
So that's changing.
That's the message.
Yeah. That is the message.
Yeah. So it's a great time to buy. It's a buyer's market.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side of that, right
It's
now
also a seller's
is
market.
a once in a lifetime opportunity for sellers. It's
Yes.
the seller's market. I
Exactly.
want my mommy.
Yep.
You know, but that is just, and again, it all points to inventory.
Yeah.
We can beat that horse all day long. Supply is way down.
But it's
So
okay. It's okay. You can
Yeah.
still find a house.
Yep.
The thing is that the only reason we know supply is down is because people are buying houses.
That's it. You got it.
So it's not like nobody's buying houses, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here going, we have so many houses to sell. Nobody wants to buy them. Then we'd be bitching about that. You know what I mean? There's always something to complain about. But we want to make sure that you know. And I got caught on this with Mike the other day. I felt, and he kind of caught it at the end of the podcast. We kind of sound doom and gloom sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to sound that way. That's not the reason for this podcast. This podcast is to educate you on what's going on in the market, to educate you on what we see coming up. And we don't have a crystal ball or anything like that, but what we see coming up, and tell you that it's buy or sell. Do what you need to do. Don't let the market determine your needs and wants and desires in life, because
great advice.
it's just not
it.
smart. Yeah, it's not smart.
Yeah.
So what else? There was something else we talked
Let's
about.
pull up that.
What do you have a graph?
Just
what's
that
graph?
That inventory graph there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just to reiterate what this looks like. That's the absorption rate, I think, right?
Yeah.
Month supply.
1.8
in 2021. That's where it came in. Right now it's 0.4, a 0.5.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is now?
Yeah, because the act is what, 287, I said, right?
Yeah. Well, did you see what's funny too is look at the graph there, and what we're looking at here for podcast inventory of homes hits record low. It says month supply of existing homes for sale in December 1999 through 2021. The interesting part was look at 2007. The graph says 9.6 months. Do you remember when that was the average sale time for a home? We would go into a house and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to list this property, and I need a year contract." And the reason being is that it might have to actually go longer than a year because 9.6 months was the average.
Average.
Yeah.
That's some of us remember that.
Yeah. Oh, I totally remember that. Yeah. And now we go, okay, so I only need like a 60-day contract because most likely next week we'll be talking about your house being sold.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's so different.
So that was a good graph because that's the absorption
Great
rate.
graph.
Yeah.
It's amazing difference.
Yep.
What else? Anything else to talk about?
Just one last thought on before we end this on multi-generationals coming together.
I love that.
We have a graphic on that. And, I just have a personal stat on this and you can relate on this, I'm sure. From 1984, when I started up to 2018, I sold one homestead property.
Wow.
Since 2019 to current, I've done 7.
Now, when you say homestead, explain that.
Homestead properties are multi-generations coming together, maybe with a little land, doing a little gardening and, maybe a chicken or two. And, that just small little homestead. Multi-generations is really the point.
Right. Got it.
And we seem to be coming back on that. And look at the benefits of multi-generational living. I mean, you got the bond going on with your family. It makes it easy to care for the elderly now, especially with healthcare and COVID.
Well, also it's expensive.
It's expensive as heck.
Yeah. I mean, you look sometimes when people need to move out, and you've seen this, where the person's moving into an assisted living or something like that, they take the house.
Yeah, they do.
And basically say, okay, we'll take the house and then we'll take care of them until they pass.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you could take that money and sell that house, take the money, bring them into your house, do an addition or whatever, and still have money left over.
Right.
So that it is something that I think it's good. And you're taking care of your own.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
As we should.
As we should. Exactly.
Yeah.
As we should. Now,
Mom
Mom and Dad, I just want to let you know, there's no way you're coming into the house at all. I just want to make this very clear. This show is definitely a good show and it's truthful, but Mom and Dad, sorry, you're going to have to go somewhere else. It's just not going to happen. But they know I'm kidding.
And everybody else, I don't do listing contracts for 60 days. So.
I do. So if you're looking for somebody for 60 days, just let me know. I'll take care of you. Oh my goodness. We digress. So the multi-generational thing is really cool. I think
cool.
It's and also here's what it does too. It saves on housing.
It's on there.
Does that say that?
It's the financial.
Yeah. Saves on housing. And it saves on the amount of houses we need.
Exactly. It does.
Yeah. Right. If they move in, now you got to sell their house and then you're adding a house to the supply.
Yep. I tell you what, next week I have an appointment with an older client.
Yeah.
Who wants to he's not older, but he's older, meaning years ago.
Yeah.
He's going to buy a big multi-generational property.
Yeah.
and they have 3 homes to sell.
Wow. That's cool.
Because it's 3 people.
Yeah.
Coming together
And I have a couple of
to
those
live
right
on the
now
same.
that are looking to do that, looking to sell, looking to buy a house and bring mom in or dad in or whatever. Typically it's usually mom because dads don't live as long.
No, that's right.
Usually that's the way it works
What is it
out.
with that?
I don't know.
That's another
Well,
podcast.
women drive us nuts. They
that's
stress
true.
us
Well,
out and give us heart attacks.
all
I mean,
right.
that's really what it is.
Close your ears, honey.
Yeah. I didn't say that. We'll take this part out. All right, we got to actually wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to talk about, man?
No, I think maybe I just need to start taking 55-day contracts now.
Oh, isn't it funny? Right away, it gets competitive, right?
That's right.
Right away. So next
All
week, it's
right.
going to be Brad's point of view, which is going to be a lot more fun. It's just
Oh.
going to be me talking to myself. And oh, my.
It's fun, man.
Oh,
Thank you,
good
brother.
times,
You're
good
doing
times.
great.
Hats and talk to yourself.
What's that?
Just gotta bring 2 hats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hugo's going to chime in then. It'll be good.
Oh,
All right, so
good.
that's it. Wrapping up the show. Pete's point of view.
Thanks,
Pete
guys.
Heim. What a great show. All kinds of information. We'll have him back again next month, and hopefully you'll check it out. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bro.